the 29th day of October 2025. A very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Kepse and Kajese enters day 3 and the final day today. KCSE is back, yeah?
Yes. KCSE wanafanya mitihani ingine lugha mingi sana leo. But for Kepse, today is the third and final day.
Yes.
Kajese, they still have 3 more days. It goes up until Monday next week. Yes.
It's longer, yeah?
It's longer. It's the very first time they're doing this exam, so yes, you'll be forgiven not to know how long it will be, but it's 6 days. But for KCSE, they're doing French, German, music, Arabic, but it's understanding and comprehension, things like that.
Languages.
A lot of things happening. It's a very special day. Karibu sana, my name is Freddy Ndimule. This is a Morning Cafe. Big day in Tanzania today. Ile tumekuwa tukihesabu. Finally, Suluhu, Samia, Mama Hassan. Yes.
My name is Anodida. Let's take a look at the local dailies and we start off with Taifa Leo, Mauti Angani.
Na barabarani. Kurasa wa mbele, Taifa Leo.
Daily Nation, Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes.
Yes, tuliwaambia leo ni siku ya Samia. Samia versus Suluhu, and I think it's the Standard that has it correctly. Samia versus Suluhu. Na wameweka pale na ile nini ya jeshi.
The Star, ex-governors owe millions in mortgages and loans.
People Daily, Parliament or puppet, they ask inside state houses grip on power.
Finally, Business Daily, Kenya ships 8 billion shillings gold to Dubai amid smuggling link.
All right.
We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies.
Today we have matters parenting on the show.
Balancing screen time and family time.
Very important.
Very.
Yeah.
Richard Zimbelis, a counselor, and Jane Gitawa, a psychologist, will be here to help us with this conversation.
Na ni kama wametufanyia ile kitu 6:30. These are gentlemen that will be in studio. Senator Joe Nyoto, Murang'a County, Titus Lote Mpika Cheliba, and nominated Senator Raphael Chimera. I think this will be the first time for him to be on Morning Cafe. They will be here starting at 6:30, helping us just taking a look at the headlines. And of course, Tanzania, let's not even say Tanzania goes to the polls. It's Samia takes over Tanzania again.
Let's cross over to Tanzania now. Day of Truth. After 2 months of vigorous campaigns across the country, Tanzanians head to polling stations today in elections that will determine the nation's political and socio-economic trajectory for the next 5 years. Wamekataa kusema kabisa this is between Mama Samia Suluhu and us.
Because it's election day, I think they're being, on election day you cannot campaign. So they've just been showing Samia on the front pages, every paper in Tanzania. But on election day, they decided, okay, today we are very good. We are not showing anyone. None of the candidates, not even Samia, on the front page. Yes.
And they're saying a total of 37,647,235 registered voters are eligible to vote in today's elections, having increased by 26.53%. That is from 29.7 million registered voters in 2020. Do's and don'ts as Tanzanians head to the polls today is another story on page 3. Watakuwa na time ya kusoma hopefully though. Zanzibar early voting passes off peacefully amid minor hiccups. They voted yesterday.
Yes.
And that's the Citizen this morning.
All right. Staying in Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi na pia hapa hawataji mwaniaji yeyote wa urais sababu ni siku ya kupiga kura. Tanzania kuamua. Watanzania leo wanapiga kura kumchagua rais, wabunge, wawakilishi na madiwani ambao wataongoza kwa miaka 5. Polisi kuhakikisha usalama, wadau wataka kura ziheshimiwe. Hatua kwa hatua kura mapema Zanzibar. Mambo 10 muhimu ya kuzingatia kabla na baada ya kupiga kura. Wanaeleza hapa kwenye gazeti hili. Kabla upige kura unafaa kufanya nini? Na ukishapiga kura utafanya nini? Nafasi ni moja ya urais na muungano wa Zanzibar. Nafasi za ubunge ni 272, nafasi za udiwani ni 3960 na nafasi za uwakilishi ni 50. Zile ni zile nominated. Na hakuna hadithi nyingine pale. Wanasema mwaka 1992, 1992 ndio mwaka ambao mfumo wa vyama vingi ulirejeshwa nchini baada ya kufutwa mwaka wa 1965. Uchaguzi wa kwanza baada ya mfumo huo kurejea ulikuwa mwaka wa 1995, ukishirikisha vyama mbalimbali vya kisiasa vilivyosajiliwa kwa mujibu wa sheria. In Kenya 1992, at least we had the very first multi-party democracy. That is when they actually started their push towards that. Habari pale juu ni masuala ya afya. Dawa kinga ya ukimwi yauzwa kwa shilingi milioni 75. Usishtuke, ni pesa za Tanzania. Lakini ni kinga ya ukimwi. Najua now prevention. This is a different drug altogether.
Yeah.
Yes. Because even if it's 75 bob, it means that in Kenyan money should be like 2 million shillings or 3 million shillings,
Still
thereabout. Yes, but you see, if it's prevention, ini mambo tofauti, si ile ati it's not an ARV, it's not ini kama vaccine. And that's the first we are hearing about it. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili.
Naitwa Lena Sapavia.
Yeah.
That's Tanzania. Tuvuke border twende Uganda now. MPs quiz government over NMG ban. They talk about media freedom and they move to bar journalists from the Nation Media Group in Uganda from covering parliament yesterday. And the presidency since March has raised concerns about the state of media freedom and democracy in Uganda. All right, health funding burden still in Uganda. They say government says it has made significant allocations to the health sector in the last 5 years, with 2.788 trillion allotted in the 2020 and 2021 financial year, and 4.486 trillion in 2024-2025 financial year. Now, this 4.4 trillion shillings is the total domestic funding and external funding. It comes up to that particular figure there. This 2.78 trillion Uganda shillings is about 161 billion Kenyan shillings. But they're saying domestic funding in 2025 was 4.4 trillion in Uganda and 2.4 trillion in 2022. And the difference in domestic funding of the health sector over the past 3 years, that is. And Uganda has lost over 1 trillion shillings in external funding in 3 years. Now, country's budgetary allocation to health sector, they say Rwanda is leading by 13.5%, followed by Kenya at 11%, Tanzania at 9.2%, and Uganda trails kule chini at 6%. Lakini yetu, I don't think it's even 11% if you're looking at it. It's around 3.3% of the national budget. Ours is 131.8 billion thereabout Kenyan shilling.
But if you count how much goes to the counties, which should be accounting for a lot of that,
Yes.
probably it will go much higher.
It might reach
Yes.
there, 11.
Interestingly, I don't know why they don't make mention of what happens in Tanzania today, because they do share a common border as well, Uganda and Tanzania,
Yeah.
the other side of Lake Victoria. Lakini hapa ni kama wanasema hiyo sio muhimu kwao. Kenya, at least 2 papers, the Daily Nation and the Standard, they are talking about what's happening in Tanzania. Kule kwao, but we share a longer border anyway. And you saw when Baba Raila Odinga passed on, both papers in Tanzania and Uganda were talking about what's happening in Kenya, and they gave it prominence on the front page. So I don't know why elections in Tanzania is not getting prominence in Uganda. Curious.
Because Kenya is Kenya.
Still in Uganda, even the New Vision, no mention of Tanzanian elections at all. They are preoccupied with their own campaigns. Electoral Commission secures 60,000 new voter gadgets, machines to verify citizens, biodata for transparent elections. Remember, the elections coming up in January next year. Pale chini kama kawaida, picha ya Museveni, Rais Yoweri Museveni, while campaigning. It goes on, yesterday was at Amudat. Other stories, at least they give prominence to the other leaders there. And Chagulani promises to improve roads in Alebutong. That features there on the front page of this paper. Anguzu is a new DPP, it's another story. And police foil another raid on City Arcade. But whatever is happening in Tanzania is not of interest to Ugandans at all. Mujue hivyo. Usiende Uganda kwanza kwambia unajua kuna elections, it is the least of their problems.
Chonto naambia Tanzania deal with your problems.
Nyinyi fanyeni mambo yenu, sisi tuko nayo tu hapa.
All right, tuangalia hali ya anga sasa. It's a very cold day in Nairobi. But tuanze kule Siaya, it's 19 degrees. This morning feels like it. Light rain expected at around 1 p.m. It's a cloudy day, however. Highs of 26 and precipitation here today. 16.6 millimeters.
That is Siaya, 16. And believe you me, that's not the highest. There's going to be recorded a lot of rainfall in other areas of the country. Ngoja tu utaona. For now, let's look at the drier areas, and we go to Mandera, which is the hottest we've seen so far, 27 degrees. As we speak, even Siaya will not get this hot. It's highs of 26. But in Mandera, it's going to get as hot as 36 degrees. clear skies with periodic clouds. Huko hata hiyo clouds wanasema periodic, hautaiona hata sijui kwa tunaangalia precipitation, it won't be there at all. And yes, it promises to continue like this, but into next week it will get even hotter. By Thursday next week it will hit 38 degrees. Hiyo ukitembea unasikia hata ile ukisweat hivi unasikia inaenda.
Nyeri this morning it's 15 degrees. It's a cloudy day here. It's a rainy day in Nyeri. The whole day. Highs of 20 degrees. Precipitation 7.7 millimeters.
Which is lower than we've seen in Siaya.
Yeah.
Siaya is 16.
The only time it will get higher is next week Monday 22 and Wednesday 24, but still low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take a look at Diani and the kind of rainfall expected there, because it is they call it light rain, but you can see it's currently raining in Diani. Incidentally, that plane that crashed yesterday, taken off from Diani. But it's a very rainy day, and it's part of the reason why I think that plane had trouble, weather problems. Precipitation 21.7 millimeters in Diani. Promises to get as high as 27 degrees. This will continue getting warmer into the weekend at 28 degrees, and next week it gets even warmer, 29. But a lot of rainfall, and this is the highest we're going to see so far. 21.7 millimeters of rainfall in Diani today.
All right. In Narok, it's 16 degrees this morning, and it's a cloudy day. Highs of 22 degrees. Precipitation in Narok today, 4.9 millimeters. Kule pia kutanyesha from morning all the way into Adikesho. It's raining.
Non-stop.
Fine.
Nairobi, and this is what many people did not expect. It is a rainy day in Nairobi. I'm telling you, it will not cease. They are talking about light rain, but if you look at the amount of precipitation expected in Nairobi, 20 millimeters today. So kama hujabeba mwavuli leo, hata leo usijaribu kufikiria ati kuna joto, sijui kuna jua wapi, nothing. That 20 millimeters of rainfall, highs of 21, meaning it's a very cold day throughout the day. And probably it only gets warmer once we get into the weekend at 22 and 23 degrees. And next week, at least, we get back to normal weather. But at least for this day and the rest of the week, ni mvua through and through.
All right, it's 11 minutes past 6 a.m. Let's take a look at the traffic situation.
Yeah, now that we anticipate a lot of rainfall on, in Nairobi especially. This is going to affect traffic because it's currently raining. And you can see already, Outer Ring Road looks red, usually at this time of day. It's a pale yellow. Lakini sahi pale further na Tasia, you can see a long stretch of red as you head towards Donholm Interchange. On Jogoo Road, it's not so bad yet. Pale tu Makadara, pale bus station iko, and after that it's green all the way until you get to Landis Road. Then now you start seeing the problem. Pale Machakos bus station, it's building up. Rarely do we see this stretch of yellow there, but now today it's there. It promises to get even redder as you get into town. Haile Selassie Avenue also getting busy. Other sections, other areas that are usually problematic as Thika Road, Pangani Interchange building up slowly. Going as far back as Ruiru, okay, so far so good. Nothing out of the ordinary, but do expect with the kind of rainfall that is being experienced in Nairobi, chunga sana. Mombasa Road is looking good into town, and these other roads on the western side of the city are also not looking bad. But mvua ikiendelea, by around 7, kutakuwa na shida.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Do one thing every day that scares you.
Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. Alright, Taifa Leo, mauti angani na vilevile barabarani. On one side, maafisa wa usalama katika eneo la mkasa wa ajali ya ndege sehemu ya Viungani, kaunti ya Kwale hapo jana. On the other photo, zimebaki ya matatu iliyotumbukia ndani ya mto Kiama katika kijiji cha Kahunyu kule Murang'a ambapo watu 6 walifariki mnamo Jumamosi. Idadi ya ajali zinaendelea kuongezeka humu nchini. Nasema kwamba wingu jeusi lilitanda hapo jana, watu 12 wakifariki katika ajali ya ndege kaunti ya Kwale saa chache baada ya wengine 5 kuaga katika ajali ya barabarani kaunti ya Kisii. Our condolences to the family. Kaburi la Raila lageuka mlima wa maua zaidi ya wiki moja baada ya mazishi ya Raila Odinga. Kaburi lake limeendelea kuvutia maelfu ya wageni wanaoendelea kuweka mashada ya maua. Wakataa mkalimani wa Amerika ni raia 6 wa Iran waliokamatwa bahari ya Hindi wakiwa na vileo wakataa mkalimani. Another story there is an international one. Qatar ashinda kura zilizosusiwa. Ni rais wa Cote d'Ivoire Alassane Ouattara sasa atahudumu kwa muhula wake wa 4. Oh wow. Kenya tukiongea watasema
huyu ndio ule alimuondoa Laurent Gbagbo.
Yes.
Alafu sasa ndio kumuhula wa 4. Surely, and we were hoping that anyway.
Mswaki kwa Suluhu, Tanzania ikipiga kura. Tanzania yafanya uchaguzi hii leo, Rais Suluhu akiwa pazuri kushinda. Masuala ya spoti, Arsenal City kupigania Carabao Cup hii leo. Taifa Leo.
Now the interesting thing is that even as in Tanzania they're going out to vote, hoping to learn about the results after they vote, after they cast their ballot. Kenyan papers have already predicted. Hii tushaamua, hii imeenda. So the Daily Nation goes with this one. Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes. President is defending seat she inherited from John Pombe Magufuli, who died in 2021. Now more than 37 million Tanzanians head to the polls today in a contest that President Suluhu Hassan is widely expected to emerge victorious. Wakenya washaamua na tunajua hiyo results. Sisi huwa tunaona mbele. Tuko na evidence kwa karatasi hata kabla ya election.
Sisi tunawashow.
Tunawashow. While the election is historic, Tanzania could formally elect its first female president. It is also clouded by competing narratives, especially regarding the fairness of the campaign, detention of opposition leader Tundu Lissu, and the integrity of the electoral process. This is the main story that these papers focused on this spread, pages 4 and 5, and which has some of the presidential candidates. Remember, there are 17 in total. Yes. Lakini so far tunajua tunani? Tunajua 4. Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan. Yes, lakini there are 17 in total.
But if you're looking at all those other candidates, can they be voted in as president? Ni nini hawana yenye mama?
No, I think ni wakati wa mama, and she'll be the very first female elected female president. We're not saying at if.
When?
It's a matter of later today.
Lakini
she'll be the first female elected president of East Africa.
When you say ni wakati wa mama, is it because the opposition leader ayuko?
Hiyo pia iko. Kuna hiyo, and Tundu Lissu said even after winning that case, he said he's not leaving jail until after elections.
Oh wow.
In protest. All right. So that's the main story there, what's happening in Tanzania. In Uganda, wamesema this is none of their business. But the other story there, trip to Masai Mara luxury camp ends in tragedy for tourists, and a picture there of security agents at the site of the crash yesterday, where 11 people lost their lives, 10 of them foreign tourists. And it's a very, very unfortunate incident. Elsewhere, the wreaths problem at Raila Odinga's grave. More than a week after the burial on October 19th, visitors are still laying wreaths on Raila's grave, forming a tiny hill of beautiful flowers that cost thousands of shillings and forcing workers to clear them every 2 days.
Wow.
Unajua uko uendi na maua tu hivi. Lazima upigwe picha ndio useme ulikuwa huko. So ile maua unaenda nayo. So after every 2 days, it's waste because now more people are coming and more are expected to continue going there. So they've kept the family quite busy. But then again, I saw people complaining that, you should allow the family to mourn. But that's how people mourn. You don't leave a family that's in mourning alone. You go condole with them. Freed Catholic nun now turns state witness is another story there. Pale juu, EACC recovers 2.8 billion shilling Karura land allocated to JJ Kamotho. That was a cabinet minister back in the Moi era, Kano days. Very famous Kano Secretary General. And MPs questioned Ruto's 1.5 trillion shilling infrastructure fund plan. Those are the stories in the dailies. I'm looking huko ndani nione kuna mambo gani ingine, but on the back page, Kipchoge Bekele clash at New York Marathon. Legendary runners are set to renew decades-long rivalry at Big Apple on Sunday. Na muliambia Eliud Kipchoge aritaya akaambia wewe achane na mimi. I am still young. That's the Daily Nation.
All right. The Standard, Samia versus Suluhu.
Sasa hapa ni kama tunawakejeli eh?
You say tunawashow?
Si ndo tunawashow by the way. Mtuamini. So many gazeti za Kenya.
No boys, opposition members have been edged out of Tanzania's vote, turning it into a one-horse race. The democratic ideals Mwalimu Julius Nyerere once championed now seem buried under a tightening grip of autocratic control. As Tanzanians head to the polls today, the air across Arusha, Dar es Salaam and Moshi is thick with an easy calm, a nation voting under the shadow of fear, silence and inevitability. I saw somewhere one of a Tanzanian, akiuliza those people, you know, we talked about they're going door to door sometime back for campaign. And when they went kwake to campaign, he asked them, who am I voting against? Hakuna another candidate here, so why are you here to campaign?
I love those people who are making a lot of noise about the elections in Tanzania are not Tanzanians. They're Kenyans.
I think it's us.
Sisi ndo tuna machungu sana about what's happening in Tanzania. Why? Kama umeshinda na demokrasia yenu, achana na jirani. Jirani anasema nyi pigeni kelele kwenyu, si tuko sawa. Washaamua.
Tuache kuwabuli.
Alafu hapa, it's the only story on the front page.
The
no mention
one.
of any other thing.
Hata hawa hawezi kutuweka peke yetu hivyo kwa
sisi ni wachokozi.
On the inside pages of the Standard now, Pioneer Grade 9 test revive fears of KCPE scramble for top schools. And they say the CBE mode of assessment was meant to ease pressure and guide intake. PSP Talk says 2.4 million KJCA candidates to jostle for popular senior schools. Sasa hii kama ulikuwa umezoea kucall somebody you know who knows someone, like get me a chance at Alliance High School or Kenya High or those top schools, it might not be possible right now.
But then again, according to this story, they're saying that ile trend, because you see there's a lot of private schools and they need to compete. They need to show that this school is better than the other because they're commercialized.
Yeah.
So wanasema ile grading ni kama haitakuwa. Do you think haitakuwa? Kenya tushazoea kugrade mashule. Lazima watakuja, they'll buy spaces in the dailies and say how many exceeded expectation, because that's how they grade their learners, how many met expectation. They'll have to do that so that you know which school is better than the other.
Okay. It's a matter of time. We'll know when that time comes. Strong winds linked to aircraft accident that killed 11 in Kwale. They make mention of that story here as well. Witnesses say the aircraft hit a tree as it tried to return to the airport after takeoff. And operator of the aircraft said 8 Hungarians, 2 Germans, and a Kenyan pilot died. So almost all of them were foreigners, just one Kenyan here. CJ Kome picks 3 judges to hear CDF case. It's another story there. On the back page of the Standard, Messi wants to play in 2026 World Cup. Argentina legend says he will listen to his body before deciding whether he can make that dream come true. Inter Miami forward led Argentina to the 2022 World Cup title.
The issue is his age. He's 38. At 38 unasema unasikiza mwili. Anyway, yeah, sikiza mwili.
Huyu hata kitovi japona. I would like to be there to be well and be an important part of helping my national team if I am there. That is Lionel Messi.
Samia versus Suluhu. Kejeli kweli. On the Star, they steer clear of matters Tanzania, but yes, a lot of what's happening locally. Ex-governors owe millions in mortgages and loans. One county chief with a tenure of just 5 years borrowed 50 million shillings. Maybe alikuwa nangojea atapata 2 term, akapata 1 term. That story is on pages 4 and 5. So most of them are stuck. A parliamentary investigation has uncovered what appears to be widespread abuse of car loan and mortgage schemes involving current and former governors and senior county officials. The Senate County Public Investments and Special Funds Committee found many county executives, particularly former governors, have defaulted on their loan repayments. Watu walikuwa governor, Alafu, in Meru County, all 3 former governors, Peter Munya, Kiraitu Murungu, and Kawera Mwangaza, are among the officers who owe a combined 58.04 million to the Meru County Executive Staff Housing Fund. Hawa watu, by the way, unasikia Governor Mutuma told senators that Kiraitu took a loan of 40 million shillings in December 2022, repayable in 20 years. Kwani ataka angepata 2 terms ingefika 20 years? How, based on what? Interesting. That's the main story there on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Pale chini, they make mention of that fateful plane crash. Experts probe Kwale plane crash as Kenya mourns. Hey, nilikuwa nimesema at least leo tumepunguza mambo ya ODM, lakini bado on the Star wako pale. How ODM bigwigs compromised to steady Raila's 20-year-old party. So on Monday, they met and they were forced to abandon hardline positions to save the party from disintegration. Walikuwa wanajipiga vifua sana before that. Kutenda hivi kama utaki toka. Wakaambiwa iendangi hivyo. Hii party itasambaratika tu saa hii. Hata kabla wiki mbili hazijaisha. It's an uphill battle for IEBC stringent rules for MCA's recall. So the IEBC has formally established a clear administrative pathway for voters seeking to recall their MCAs before the end of their term. The detailed procedures outlined in a comprehensive guide seen by this paper empower registered voters, in a word, to initiate a recall process, a matter that gained traction at the height of the 2024 Gen Z uprising. But they're not talking about MCAs, they wanted MPs. So IEBC has come up with a proper procedure on how to recall an MCA. Let them do the same for MPs, because hapo ndio watu walisema. Pale juu, story about dispossession of a widow, kule Nyando. Finally, she got justice. She had rejected wife inheritance. And the Iranians who were caught trafficking drugs have been detained for 30 days as the case continues. Back page stating the ship matters AFC Leopards. No, Shabana preparing to meet AFC Leopards. Watakulwa na Ingwe. Anyway, that's the Star.
All right. Kisonga mbele, People Daily. Lost voice, parliament or puppet inside State House grip on power. They talk about how State House took over parliament. Laws that are passed, parliament are controlled by the State House. So they're asking, is parliament independent or is it a puppet State House?
Yes. Yesterday it was interesting, one of our panelists raised, and it's a lawyer, alisema, unaona hiyo watu wanakimbia kotini kusema ati cabinet secretaries are taking part in politics. That it's the same parliament that actually passed the conflict of interest bill, now an act,
yes,
which actually allows CSs and CECs in counties to campaign. The same parliament. But one of those people who have gone to court is a member of parliament.
To do what? To petition?
To challenge, it's LSK and Babu Owino, who's an MP, are going to challenge the fact that some cabinet secretaries are on the campaign trail. So alikuwa wapi wakipitisha hiyo kitu?
Sasa hata angesema no ako peke yake. All right, Raila's death throws ODM into chaos and shifting politics. ODM kama to the Star. Still on the front page of the dailies. That's the People Daily, People and Politics.
All right, Business Daily. Kenya ships 8 billion shilling gold to Dubai amid smuggling link. Do we have this much gold? That's the issue. If it was Tanzania, I know they have gold. In Kenya, we don't have this kind of gold, but we are shipping. So tunauliza tunatoa wapi? So 2-year equivalent of exports recorded in 3 months. Yeah. Nairobi cited as a transit hub for smuggled gold from region. Yes. Hatuna nini dhahabu kiasi hicho. Wanasema Kenya recorded an unusual spike in the value of gold exports in the 3 months ending June amid reports that the country is emerging as a transit hub for smuggled gold from other African countries. Hiyo ndio ukweli. Tuache kujidanganya ati tuko na dhahabu ya kuexport. 8 billion shillings in 3 months. This would have been our biggest foreign exchange earner. Also, investors unclaimed cash earns Treasury 13 billion shillings. This is the same conversation you were having yesterday about the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFA. The Treasury earned 13.1 billion in 5 years from buying government paper using cash that investors have failed to claim in bank accounts. dividends and mobile money wallets such as M-Pesa. Are they allowed to do that? That they can actually go to the Unclaimed Assets Authority, take that money,
And
invest it, and actually make money, 13 billion
They are
shillings.
allowed to do that.
Wow, it's interesting. Na ni pesa yako wewe ndo umelala hapo hujatumia.
Na walisema wewe hawezi kukupatia that interest.
Lakini KRA hata hataki kujua kama uko na pesa mali, they'll still care for you. On the ticker, LPG sellers to retain clients' personal details for 2 years. Well, anyway, so the customer details for at least 2 years. Ukibuy LPG. Mivida eyes 20 billion shillings from property funds and cooperative bank rivals Equity Fuliza with 100,000 shilling digital overdrafts. All right, interesting. The ticker stories on the ticker on the Business Daily are more interesting than the rest. Matters business. Just a reminder that later on the
more
show.
interesting than the rest. This one is quite interesting. The Treasury you're earning, because you know UFA is under Treasury.
Yes.
And they're investing it in Treasury bills and Treasury bonds. And then that particular, how they, you know, how UFA is standing on ground and on business is because of your money.
No, but if they're investing my money, whether or not I know I have it, shouldn't I be gaining from that investment?
No, the chairperson said you cannot. That is not their mandate.
You see, hapo wametucheza. Kama pesa ni yangu, wakienda wa invest inafai nipate interest. Anyway, big discussions on Morning Cafe today.
Balancing screen time and family time. Richard Ziwa Zimbalist will be here alongside Jane Gitau for this particular conversation on parenting.
All right. And our panelists this morning on State of the Nation, Senators Joe Nyoto and Raphael Chimera, and a member of the National Assembly, Titus Lote. Tuangazie wachoraji. Karakacha wanasema nini?
This is the Daily Nation, right?
Yes.
Sifuna is here again on the caricatures, and I don't know if this is Gladys.
Yes, wendo chairman tayari ashageuka.
Chairperson.
Najua amevaa ile ya chungwa lakini anataka kupaint the house yellow. Na Sifuna ni kama mtoto mdogo
ana paint tu.
Yeye ana paint huko kwa floor, hata hataki kwa ukuta.
Ndio mumwambie insubordination. He will just paint.
But he's the one speaking that now we are painting the house yellow. Alikubali akasema tutakuwa hapa hadi 2027.
All right.
The People Daily talks about as a caricature of the president there working on a table, anajaribu kufix jigsaw puzzle ya maps. Aone vile kutaenda, lakini in his mind ni nini? Nyanza votes. Na clock pale ticking towards 2027.
This is the standard. Mama Samia Suluhu anaenda ballot peke yake.
Lakini ameinua ile fist. All right. And finally the cartoon on the Star. Hapa sasa ndo amesema ukweli vile tulisema. Kuna watu wengi kwa track wanakimbia, lakini wote ni mama, mwingine ni Samia, mwingine ni Suluhu, na yule pale mwisho ni Hassan. Hata pengine yeye ndo angekuwa hapa. Tanzania decides. That's a cartoon on the Star. Kejeli kweli.
Ameshikilia ballot. All right, do interact with us on our socials at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 Digital. We have feedback here. We can see you. We're already working up. That's very good. John wa Kiraini anasema in. Robert Keleweke anasema locked in hadi tamati. Meshak Ndiema, good morning from Kericho. Imasiola anasema Kilimani Estate, Nairobi, Kenya watching. Tanzania decided. They've already decided. Paul Jr., good morning from Opoda. Mburu Gikonyo, good morning from Hurlingham. And Apareng Apex, following from West Pokot, good morning. Sharon Kananu tuned in here from Pangani. Fred?
Kuna huyo Apareng anasema supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Good morning, Morning Cafe. Amesema hivyo, mera sijui inamaanisha nini. Mboro Gikonyo says my vibe is just chilled as the weather is not that warm. Edwin Kabeche says good morning. And Danino Olubuoha says mbona hapa wameng'ara sana kuliko venye naona live. Ni wapi huko wameng'ara?
All right, thank you so much. Keep interacting with us on the said social media platforms, and see you after the break. My handle next is N_Dida.
Mine is at Fred Indemuli. Remember to use the hashtag Morning Cafe TV47.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Oma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi ni simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Farika tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Farika is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasukuni. CP unit ni Punet.
So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, that don't give you the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Ann serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips,
As Tanzania prepares to go to the polls, human rights organizations across East Africa warn that the country's democratic space has all but collapsed, terming the upcoming vote as a stage-managed exercise.
There are no free and fair elections happening in Tanzania. President Samia Suluhu is preparing for her coronation, as her only opposition is her very own shadow.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan is seeking her first full term in office, having completed the remainder of the term left by her predecessor, the late President John Pombe Magufuli. Her main rival, Tundu Lissu of the Chadema party, remains in jail on treason charges after calling for electoral reforms.
All her main opposition candidates have either been detained or barred from participating by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Human rights groups have reported a pattern of violence that has intensified in the months leading up to the elections, with over 55 new disappearances reported in the last 3 weeks alone. The government of Tanzania has not responded directly to the latest wave of accusations, but maintains that the election process remains credible, secure and transparent.
50 reported and documented cases of enforced disappearances, with the majority of the victims never to be seen again or their lifeless bodies found months later.
Meanwhile, key international observers, including missions from Belgium, Sweden, Germany and Ireland, have withdrawn, citing lack of transparency. The United States and European Union are monitoring remotely, while the African Union has deployed a small team led by Dr. Specioza Kazebwe, urging calm and peaceful participation.
African Union, an institution meant to defend human rights, democracy and the rule of law, has chosen silence over principle. It increasingly resembles a club of presidents shielding each other rather than protecting the people they claim to serve.
As polling stations open across Tanzania tomorrow, the world watches closely amid growing questions over whether the election will reflect the people's will or mark yet another setback for democratic freedoms in East Africa. Sheila Chelangat for TV 47.
Yes, and that appears to have really attracted the interest of Kenyans. You can see even Kenyan politicians commenting about what's happening in Tanzania as they go to the polls this morning. It is also the top trend on X in Kenya today, Tanzania, with over 39,000 posts on the same. Look at our dailies, the main headlines on the front page of the Daily Nation. Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes, and the Standard perhaps even more stinging. Samia versus Suluhu. Ni kejeli tu. If you look at even the cartoons that we have, the Star has a cartoon of a caricature of this president of Tanzania running against herself 4 times on a truck, and another one standing above the ballot box with a clenched fist. And that's where we start our conversation this morning. We do expect to be having 3 panelists in studio, but so far we have Titus Lote, MP Kacheliba. Good morning, Bwana Lutena, karibu sana.
Good morning, Fred.
There's a lot of interest by Kenyans on what's happening in Tanzania, and I'm not so sure we receive the same kind of interest from Tanzania when you go to the polls. Ni kiherehere ama ni shughuli gani?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for us to appreciate the fact that we are part of the East Africa and we are an East African community. And so what is happening in Tanzania, or what happens in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, all the East African community members also affect this country because 1, they are our trade partner, 2, they are globally located within the same region as us. So it is not kierere. If you look at the global media, all the big fishes in this world globally, China, the US, when there is an election in those big countries, it's a global event because what happens in those countries, the elections and therefore the government that is formed affects the entire region. And so it is not kierere. In fact, I looked at the commentaries today, some of the people commenting are actually not Tanzanians, they are not Kenyans. They are actually people from Europe, people from America. Why? It is because they know that what happens in one part of the world affects them. And so Kenyans people that are enlightened in this region. Actually, we are the big brothers in this region, and we need to be very careful and very keen in also analyzing what is happening to our sister countries. And so Kenyans have all the rights to be able to discuss Tanzanian elections. Actually, you also saw the civil society. They went to Tanzania not because of elections, because of the atrocities that is being committed in this country. And so we are the big brother, and so we cannot, as big brothers, definitely we go everywhere to try and correct our small sisters.
The question is because even in the region, and we were looking at Ugandan papers as well this morning, they make no mention of Tanzania and the elections there, but they do share a border as well, a common border.
Uganda is a small brother. You know, at home, the big brother, the elder brother is the one that is supposed to look at what is happening. Those young ones do not probably even understand what is happening. So Uganda, we can forgive them. But I know with time, we will see Uganda starting to go into the national scene, into the international scene. I actually saw some Nigerians commenting on Tanzania elections. They do not share any common board, they do not show any common trade bloc. But you actually sign that because they understand what is happening globally, they actually poke their noses. So the bigger you grow politically, economically, you start looking at what is happening to the other states that are close to you. So I have actually seen our politicians, I have seen Martha Karua going even all the way to Uganda to be able to help one that has been incarcerated there, the opposition leader, Besigye, for some time. But you can never see Ugandans coming to Kenya, you can never see them going to Tanzania because they were young brothers. They might not be able to be at the pedestal where Kenyans are. And so for us being able to intervene, us being able to analyze, us being able to actually understand that elections in Tanzania affects us is an important thing globally to say that Kenyans have taken their position that they're supposed to take.
But there's some, we've also been criticized quite a bit by even our neighbors of being a bit too quick to meddle in their issues. For example, when we have our activists cross the border and in support of some of the opposition figures there. We've seen what happened in Tanzania, that the authorities there were not very happy with that, and it was actually a security situation. The same happening in Uganda currently. 2 Kenyan activists who went to Uganda are still cannot be accounted for. And do you understand where they're coming from? That they may not really be quick to welcome this kind of meddling from Kenyans?
Well, I wouldn't want to be to meddle into other countries' affairs. But I ask you a question. Do we have democracy in Tanzania? Do we have democracy in Uganda? And the answer is simply no. And the reason why we are actually seeing today, Samia is running versus Suluhu. This can never happen in Kenya. It basically tells you that democracy is in Kenya. And the reason why we are now starting to export democracy, when we actually realize that our neighbors do not have the same values that we do have in terms of how we manage our state affairs. Try the Gen Z thing in Uganda. They tried. Only 23 of them went to the streets. And you know what? The president told them, I will shoot you dead. Try these things in Tanzania. You will never see it. And basically, the reason why we actually see Kenyans meddling is because they realize that these people, despite the fact that they say they are democratic countries, are not democratic. And so we are trying, our activists are trying to help. And the reason why, today, Tundu Lissu is in jail. Besigye is in jail. Museveni will be running against himself. Samia Suluhu is running against herself. It basically tells you, and I want it to be repeated, it is not wrong for Kenyans to sympathize with our brothers. The only thing that I will not agree is that we should not interfere with people's affairs. We should not.
But what does it say, and you call Kenya a big brother in this situation, but being in the center of countries where democracy is not at the same level as us, don't you think that gives Kenya or leaves Kenya with a very big burden? Because the dream of a common federation, political federation, common currency, open borders within the East African community, that has still remained a mirage. Is it because of the level of democracy in this region? We're talking about Somalia, South Sudan, even Ethiopia, Uganda and Tanzania.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that we are in this situation because all the East African community members are all non-democratic. And the reason why we are not able to realize quickly our common agenda of the East African community. Tanzania has been locking Kenyans in. They have been locking Kenyan products. They have actually even demanded that if you want to go to Tanzania as Kenyans, you're thoroughly vetted. And yet, that is not the spirit of the East African community. We want open borders, we want open movements. And that basically tells you that our East African community agenda might not be able to move on. Look at all the countries that are forming the East African community. Rwanda, unfortunately, if I say, is not as democratic as Kenya. Uganda is not. Burundi is not. Tanzania is not. Uganda is not. South Sudan is not. Ethiopia is not. Somalia is not. So all the countries that we form the East African community do not espouse the democratic views that Kenyans have. And these democratic views are actually part of that's driving the East African community. It basically tells you this East African community thing is going to be a mirage as long as these countries are not able to actually open up their borders, to open up their politics, and to be able to give the citizens of those countries the power to decide. Today, Tanzanians are not deciding. Actually, what is happening is a process that is only going to give coronation to Samia Suluhu. They will not have even wasted all this money. They will have just taken her to State House, swear her in, and that is it, because she's going to win by 99.9%. She's winning, she's voting, she's actually vying against nobody.
But listening to you, you seem to have decided that they, especially Uganda and Tanzania, are really not at our level, even in terms of political...
They definitely are not in our level.
But we seem to be turning to them whenever we get conflict, that Yoweri Museveni or leaders like Samia Suluhu Hassan or even the older leaders who led Tanzania are the ones who come to mediate here in Kenya when we have problems. How is that? If we
I've never seen Samia Suluhu coming to mediate anything in this country. I've never seen Museveni coming to do that. Probably what they do is a statement. We just welcome them for our state events, and they do come. We have also gone to their state events, but that does not mean it's mediation. That is building friendship. We are trying to deepen, expand. They will say deepen, expand, I don't know what, the union. So when we welcome them here, it's not that they are coming to help. Even when Kenya had issues in 2007, we had people from South Africa. We had people from Ghana, but not Tanzanians or Ugandans.
No, we had Jakaya Kikwete here.
Jakaya Kikwete came, and you know what Kenyans said? We are not trusting you until Thabo Mbeki came from Tanzania, until the late Kofi Annan.
As recently as 2023, when there was maandamano after the elections of 2022, there was an instance where we saw Samia Suluhu Hassan come to Kenya to try and probably bring the ODM leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto together. The success or otherwise of that meeting we still do not know. But yes, we still turn to them.
We did turn to them. They actually came in as big as brothers. You know, brothers come in. But Kenyans did not have faith, just like they didn't have faith in Kikwete in 2007. They didn't have faith in Samia Suluhu. In fact, nobody even listened to her. So if the maandamano, if the debacle continued for a period of time, you will have actually seen people coming from a little bit far, and probably those are the people that we will have listened to. So as much as they want to come to help, which is very good as brothers and sisters, the levels of confidence Kenyans have for them, it's not there.
Okay. Interesting. Allow me to welcome Senator Joe Nyoto to this conversation. Good morning, Senator. Senator Nyoto is a senator from Murang'a. And Senator, we are discussing what is on the front page of the Standard today and the Daily Nation, Samia versus Suluhu on the front page of the Standard, and Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes, the kind of interest that this has generated on the Kenyan side of the border is what we are questioning. And the first question was, are we meddling? What do you understand this level of interest in elections happening across the border? Looking at the papers from Uganda, they don't seem to realize that there's anything happening in Tanzania.
Thank you, and good morning, Fred. Where I come from, we say that when you come in late, you should get satisfied with the intestines, because otherwise the choice pieces of flesh will have been taken away by those who preceded you, and I believe that Honorable Ote, my friend, has had the best part of the meat in his particular conversation. But allow me to say that, Fred, we have been able to visit as parliamentarians, and I think even in the National Assembly where Honorable Lotte sits. In fact, most of the foreign trips that were made by Parliament last year were to Arusha because of the problems that were there with the resources, and I think now to save on airfare, because Tanzania, actually you just need to be driven to Tanzania, especially Arusha. And so when we go there as politicians, or when we went there as politicians, we were of course trying to, of course, interact with the people. They're not very free in discussing politics, because I think for me, what came across to me is that Tanzania is generally a suppressed society. Those who are very open will tell you that if you mention the name of Samia Suluhu, you could get somebody actually abducting you. Because what is there in Tanzania, I can tell you, are abductions. And I think that is where President Ruto had borrowed this idea of abductions to silence dissent. But here, of course, it cannot work, because this is no democracy, and the human rights here, of course, cannot be violated at the scale, on the scale that you do that in Tanzania. But then, talking to the average Tanzanian, you also pity them, because for me, they come across as people who are somehow caged into CCM. Because I remember one Tanzanian telling me, jamani, sasa sisi hatumpendi Suluhu, lakini sasa yeye ndiye ako na CCM, na CCM unajua ni chama cha baba wa taifa Nyerere, sasa lazima tutamchagua. And then I actually pitied them, that you will elect somebody whom you actually do not think is fit to hold office. But because you are kind of caged in that particular party, CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, then you'll go ahead and elect them. But I would say that Tanzania is where we were, democratically speaking, about 30 years ago. When there was, actually more than 30 years ago, before 1991, when we repealed Section 2A to allow for multi-party democracy. Where there was a crackdown on, anybody who had a divergent view. And that is what is happening with the arrest of, for example, of Tundu Lissu and other opposition figures. I mean, recently we had actually no less than a former Chief Justice Mutunga and Mother Karua, a very reasonable leader and a respected leader, being deported, supposedly being deported from Tanzania. And so I think Tanzania is a society that has a long way to go before they reach the levels we have reached here, yet, democratically.
In as far as the fight for multi-party democracy, they are not very far behind us in moving from one-party state to multi-party democracy. If in Kenya you repealed that Section 2A in 1991, by 1992 they had done the same. If you look at the parties in Tanzania,
yes,
following that movement into multi-party democracy, don't you think it's admirable that they have a party like CCM that can stand the test of time? In Kenya, multi-party democracy seems to have created just different acronyms of parties that die after every electoral cycle.
Yes, I actually give credit to CCM. It has been able to hold its to have relevance over the years. But like I had told you in my opening remarks, actually CCM does not hold together because of the leaders who are in CCM today. Like I had told you, it is like a philosophy, the philosophy that was introduced by the father of the nation and the late Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. They owe allegiance.
And don't you think that
Nyerere, not actually to the party.
That is a success of the party, that actually it's the people who are holding true to the philosophy of the party for more than 30, 40 years?
Yes, not the philosophy of the party, the philosophy of Nyerere. Because you will realize that it will not tell you about the other presidents that have come under CCM, after Nyerere. They will tell you their loyalty to Nyerere, not the party. And so they feel that anybody going against CCM is going against Nyerere. I mean, which tells you that it's not the policies or the manifesto of CCM that they vote for. They actually vote for Nyerere. And actually that reminds me that there's some people who said last week, and allow me, because I've not been here since the passing on of the late Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, to pass my condolences to the family and friends. But there is somebody who said that Baba can be more dangerous dead than alive. And so unless ODM fails, for example, to hold the party together, they can reap, and I'm giving them unsolicited advice, they can reap from the philosophy of Baba Raila Amolo Odinga to hold the party together, so that the people that were loyal to Baba may continue being loyal and see ODM as a party, you know, and they stick to ODM because of Baba, even in death, like the Tanzanians have done for CCM. And that is, of course, advice for free. But then, of course, there will be challenges on to whether they can be able to hold together because of competing interests. Right. But that is exactly how I see CCM in Tanzania. You know, Mwalimu Nyerere was highly respected by Tanzanians. And I think he was not a dictator like his successors have been. And so, and I think that is why Nyerere, I mean, the Tanzanians still feel they owe him a lot of respect, a lot of loyalty. And in fact, it's a funny situation, Fred, because you go into a government office, you'll find two portraits. The portrait of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, and then the portrait of the serving president. Not those who came in between. So that is a kind of, you know, respect the Tanzanians hold Nyerere with. And that is, for me, that is what dictates the fortunes of CCM to this day, not the leaders who are in CCM today.
So Tanzanians go to the poll today, and according to Kenyans, it's already a done deal. We can already predict the results. Meanwhile, Tanzanian papers are very optimistic about what to expect later on. They are hoping they're going through a process that will elect a president, but according to Kenyan dailies, it's already done. It's Samia versus Suluhu, according to the Standard. But let's take a look at what would appear it's election season across most regions in Africa. In Côte d'Ivoire, for example, Alassane Ouattara has won a fourth term at the age of 83. He has secured a fourth term following elections that excluded two main rivals, just like what you're seeing in Tanzania. It is what probably we're seeing in Uganda as well, with the exclusion of Kizza Besigye, who's still in prison. They've already begun presidential campaigns ahead of the elections in January. We've seen what happened in Cameroon with a 92-year-old absent president running for president and winning. And I do not know, Bonalote, if we can draw any conclusions from this trend. Earlier on, we were talking about the trend, the Gen Z trend, and that most presidents were being removed from office immediately after their first term. But a lot of other nations in Africa are simply not picking up on that trend. Do you agree?
Well, I do agree that we are not in the same state of democratic space or civil engagement to our governments. And the reason why, unfortunately and sadly, we're going to have a president that might celebrate 100 years old, the birthday, 100 years age in presidency or in office, is going to be a very sad thing. And if I can see that all the developed countries, the term limits of the president is 4 or 5 years, and the age of the president is actually coming down, including big states like the US, where we've had a president of 40 years, 47 years. Unfortunately, sadly, all the developing countries, most of the poor countries, have presidents that have actually overstayed in office. If you look at the median age of the presidents in the developing countries, is over 76 years of age. And the reason why 92-year-old person, I don't think this person is still sane enough, because we know we are created by God, and God gave us the capacity. And we've got what we call the normal curve of life, where there's a place where you are down, and then there's a peak season of your life, and then there's a time when you come down. At age 92, when we look at Ivory Coast, we look at Cameroon, and we look at most of the Western African countries, we actually talk about a very sad state of Africa. But when we come to the eastern part of Africa, and some little section of the Western Africa, we found that the youth have actually taken up their role, and the reason why we actually saw uprisings of the Gen Z. We've actually seen one in Madagascar recently. We've seen in East Asia, we've actually seen the Gen Z as are taking place. Somebody yesterday was saying there's a time atomic bomb that is in these countries. I think the fever has started. And with the time, I actually for the first time saw some demonstration in Cameroon. I've never heard that Cameroonians can demonstrate because of an election. For the first time, we've actually seen them taking to the streets, detesting the elections. And for me, it is not an election. It is a coronation, just like we're now starting to see it coming to Tanzania. So for me, I'll say, as much as we see that the median age of a president still goes higher than 70 years of age, then we are starting to feel into a problem that is in the future, because the base of our communities now, the base of our society, and especially in these developing countries, are the people. If you look at the pyramid, the pyramid, what we call the democratic pyramid, at the top are the few old people, and at the bottom are the very many young people. Okay. But if you go to the developed countries, unfortunately, at the top are the base is bigger at the top. Old people are more than the young people. Inverted pyramid. Yes, inverted pyramids, but they still elect a younger president because the old people there believe and they know that they do not have the capacity to rule. Okay. Allow me, Bwana Lote, take a break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. The kind of trends we're seeing with elections everywhere, especially in Africa. You're watching Morning Cafe.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Ouma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments. Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist, what is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's number one top.
Welcome back. And if at all Kenyans are really interested in Kenyan politics and the elections, they are also very much interested in what's happening across the border in Tanzania. Tanzania is a top trend on X this morning with over 39,000 posts. Samia versus Suluhu is the front page of the Star today, and that's what we're trying to probe this morning. And Senator Nyoto, even as we continue looking at Tanzania, and we'll continue with that in a bit, we just took note of the fact that quite a number of countries across Africa are having the elections around this time. Yes, Uganda in next January, now Tanzania today. Cameroon last week declared a victory for a 92-year-old man who's been president for now 40 years plus. And now we see that Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire has won his 4th term. Now, the same question is that a lot of the argument has been that the Gen Z's wave is coming and sweeping across Africa, but now we're seeing a lot of incumbents now defying that and appearing to retain their rule even beyond what many people may think is the allowable term limits.
Fred, I think it's important to look for the unique circumstances of different countries because I think in some countries, African countries, some of these presidents who have ruled for a long time are good for those countries. And I think for me, I would want to look at each individual country, you know, separately because they have, you know, unique circumstances. If you go to Rwanda, for example, and I was there last week, but went for a whole week. If you go there, Fred, and see what Kagame is doing, you know, you talk to an ordinary Rwandese, and they will tell you that the president wakes up in the morning, goes to the office, work, and you really find President Kagame on a car roof. I mean, and when he comes out when he must come out. For example, when there is a general cleanup of the city, he comes and participates and doesn't give many, even speeches. Because for him, and he does not make a promise that he will not keep. And you go to Kigali, and you know, a small city, the capital of a small country, geographically, I think the size of a county like Kiambu, but very well organized. So I believe the economy is smaller, but you know, very well organized. And they will tell you that in Rwanda, it is zero tolerance to corruption. And this is led by the president himself. And even the generals that he fought together with for the liberation of Rwanda, of course, you know what happened in 1994. If you are serving and you are caught with any corrupt deal, action will be taken against you. Why? Because the president himself is not corrupt. So a country like Rwanda, in fact, I was telling them that I pity you people, because I think after this term, they changed their constitution also. After this term, President Kagame will only have one more term, and that will be it. And I was like, the future of Rwanda without Kagame will be very uncertain. So what am I trying to say? You look at Museveni next door, he has not been very kind to those who have opposed him. But give it to him that he stabilized Uganda. Because we just read from history, and there was always those problems about, then nobody comes back, and there were, wars and killings in Uganda for a long time. Since President Museveni took over in 1986, he has been able to stabilize that country, and the economy is not that bad. However, that having been said and done, I think there's a reason why there's retirement after attaining a particular age. Here in Kenya, until recently, it was the age of 55, that if you are in civil service, even actually in the private sector, that once you attain the age of 55, then you quit so that you can allow, fresh blood who will come with fresh ideas to come, and of course, because things keep changing. So, and I can tell you, Fred, however old you are, you will know that the way, that the ideas that were working maybe 10 years ago may not work today. And so I think it's important that however good a president is, that especially once you attain the age of like 60 or 65, like the bishops do, that you give way to others. Because even having done very good and great things, nobody can be sure what your successors can do, and they bring new ideas. But let me tell you something again about Rwanda. We visited, I traveled there under the Senate Committee on Labor and Social Protection. And we visited one institution they call RSSD, that is Rwandese Social Security Department, the equivalent of our NSSF. And what we found there is that they have been able to automate everything. And you go there, the people that you find there, including the CEO, they are young people. Actually, I don't think any one of them has attained the age of 40. And with technology, younger people are well versed with matters technology, which is something that we must leverage on in order for us to change things. And so in Rwanda, many offices, many positions are occupied by young people. And so young people must be given an opportunity, of course, to bring in their fresh ideas, to be able to leverage on technology in order for us to be able to capture, everybody that we need to capture, every other opportunity that we need to capture. So I think presidents, like any other public servant, must retire at around age 60, 65 at most.
And to mention that Paul Kagame is actually 68 years of age, now that you've talked about Rwanda and Kigali, and I'm trying to find out how old President William Ruto is right now, 58 years old, so he still has time before he retires. Incidentally, Samia Suluhu Hassan is 65 years old as she runs for president, and if Kenya, we are saying it's when she actually wins this election, she becomes the very first elected woman president in East Africa. That would be a first, however much she may be criticized. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Alassane Ouattara at the age of 83 has won a 4th term in office, and elsewhere in Cameroon, the president there, as 92 years of age, he's not even been seen on the campaign trail, but he's won an 8th term in office. Let's come back home and take a look at local politics, as a lot has happened over the past 2 weeks or so. And we continue examining the aftermath of the passing on of the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. We've seen a lot of realignments, a lot of engagement between former rivals, William Ruto and Gideon Moi. Around the same time, I've managed to mend fences. It is part of the stories covered here at TV47. Let's have that story to set base for the discussion going forward.
Despite the absence of KANU chairman Gideon Moi, President William Ruto used his Baringo tour, the first since his handshake with Moi and the death of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, to popularize his new partnership with Moi in his Rift Valley backyard. Ruto defended Moi's decision to step down in favor of UDA candidate Vincent Chemitei and hinted at a possible cabinet reorganization to accommodate Moi and his KANU allies in the broad-based government.
Si mimi niliita ndugu yangu Gideon, nikamwambia wewe ni mtu ya rika yangu, si ndio? Tuko pamoja. Nikauliza Gideon kwa heshima, na Gideon naye akaniheshimu, akaniambia wacha tuungane, tuachie hawa vijana waendelee na kazi, mimi na Gideon tutapangana tukisonga mbele. Hiyo ni sawa ama si sawa bwana?
Ruto's Rift Valley tour, which entered its second day in Baringo after Nakuru, turned into a campaign drive for Chemitei, who is now widely expected to win the senatorial seat following Moi's exit.
Wapi kura ya Chemitei hapa nione kura ya Chemitei kule. Baringo hoye.
Nikisimama hapa leo, niko na kibali ya Mwenyezi Mungu, niko na kibali ya wananchi wa Baringo, na niko na kibali ya Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya. Siyo ni magofi jameni.
The president's admission that he plans to accommodate Moi in his administration is said by his allies to be a top priority, seen as a strategic move to stabilize the broad-based government after Odinga's death and ahead of the 2027 elections, amid uncertainty over ODM support for his re-election bid.
Tunawajumuisha katika serikali ya broad-based. Ndio tuweze kutembea pamoja, tuwache chuki za ukabila, migawanyiko na ubaguzi. Sote tusimame kwa pamoja, ndio tuweze kujenga taifa letu tukiwa pamoja. Na mimi nawauliza watu wa Baringo jameni, kwa heshima kubwa mkubali tutembee safari hiyo tukiwa pamoja.
Elected leaders flanking the president urged his Rift Valley support base to pick ID cards, register as voters, and rally behind Ruto for a final term in office.
Wewe, nimesikia wengine walikuwa wanaongea sema one time, nikawaambia hawakujui. Wewe ni ile machine ilikuwa discovered na Moi. Ile machine ilikuwa discovered na Moi. Ikafanyiwa assembling na Kibaki. Kibaki akakutanisha. Uhuru akafanya road test. Uhuru Kenyatta. Your Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga marehemu Mungu amlaze roho yake mahali pema akafanya service. Ni machine munyama iki.
Apul Kamau, TV47.
The president back on the rooftops of vehicles. Of course, many people may say it's because of the upcoming November 27 by-elections, but then again, it may be out of necessity, out of the need to steady and ensure the stability of the broad-based arrangement following the passing on of Raila Amolo Odinga. Which one do you think is more urgent for the president? Is it the by-elections or the fact that now he has to realign himself and ensure that the arrangement that has been so famously known as a broad-based actually works going forward?
Well, first of all, I'll say it will be wrong for us to vilify the president for being at the rooftops of the vehicles, because I think we're very choosy in terms of how we select who to glorify and who not to glorify. Tanzanians, we've just been discussing Tanzania, and we've actually said that Suluhu is one of the presidents that is actually turning Tanzania from the democratic principles left by Julius Nyerere to being an autocratic state. But before Suluhu was somebody called Magufuli, and people liked Magufuli. In fact, many Tanzanians, if they were given a chance, they would have wanted this guy to continue staying alive. But he died, unfortunately, because that is our state of affairs. But Magufuli used to be a president that was always on the rooftops of the vehicles. And we actually had, sometimes he will make a phone call in front of people and castigate an officer. But people laugh that. But I know that because people who don't like William Ruto, today that William Ruto is on the rooftop of vehicles, they will complain and they say William Ruto is supposed to be sitting in.
The question, Bonalote, today is that he has done it before, but there was a lull. He had taken a step back from the campaign trail. We've not seen him on the rooftops of vehicles for quite a long time. Now he is back. We're not saying it's bad. We're just saying, okay, what has made him go back there? Is it the by-elections or the necessity to ensure the broad-based government is actually...
One of the point of the lull, he actually even announced that we should have 7 days mourning for the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And so the lull will be explained by that as part of it. But again, part of another thing that explained the lull was that the president was actually sitting in office to work for Kenyans. But the president cannot be bad. If you're going for an activity like he went to Baringo, for the environment activity, the president that loves people and the president that loved by the people cannot be bad from actually greeting the people. And so how do the president greet the people in an environment that is not organized? It will come out of the vehicles and greet. Unfortunately, we want to glorify a president that never loved people, that they will drive through, they will fly through, and they will never wanted to greet people. So for me, I say, we elect a president to work for Kenyans, but we also elect a president that can be able to engage with Kenyans. So when the president is engaging with Kenyans, like he did in Baringo, let us not castigate.
Do you think the need to steady the broad-based arrangement is a real necessity for the president right now, following the events of the last 2 weeks, the death of the former prime minister?
But has there been unsteadiness in the broad-based government?
He was a core principal in the broad-based arrangement.
Yeah, he is a core principal. He is a mortal human being like you and me. And so because he's gone, we've actually seen ODM holding press statement. We actually saw Sifuna, the Secretary General of ODM, coming out and saying ODM will be in broad-based government until 2027. So the broad-based government is not individual-driven government. As much as the core principle went, the ODM part of the government is supposed to organize themselves, and they have organized themselves, and they have given a statement about the broad-based government. So the president does not have a lot of issues unless he wants to destabilize the other parties.
Allow me to ask you one question, because the president generally enjoys a lot of support across the entire Rift Valley. What was the necessity of bringing Gideon Moi into the broad-based arrangement? Of what use would that be?
That tells you the unselfishness of the president, because the president will have done away will actually have managed the broad-based government arrangement without Gideon Moi. But because the constitution stipulates that this government is for everybody, the elected government become the government that serves everybody. He saw it fit to call his brother, because Gideon Moi, let me tell you, if Gideon Moi had gone to the polls with this young man in Baringo, and knowing that this young man was nominated by UDA, Gideon Moi was going to be trounced. It was going to be very bad for Gideon Moi to be trounced by a young person that has never been there before. And so what the president saw was, let us not humiliate the son of a former president. Let us bring him in. Let us allow him to be appointed. And you actually know there's some arrangements that might be coming, so that he can get some arrangements. Because President Ruto also benefited from the leadership of Moi. And so somehow, just like we've seen presidents trying to return back, President Ruto is trying to bring in Gideon in a more dignified way. He will have done without Gideon, let me tell you. But because this government is for everybody, why will he be selfish? Why will he want to chase Gideon Moi away?
It's the senator on this one. What's your assessment of, they say when you see some animals at some funny time of day, it means there's something happening somewhere. And the president for months has not been seen on top of the roof, on the roofs of his cars. For months now, he's just been seen in suits and doing a lot of activities at State House, Nairobi. Now we're seeing him back on the campaign trail. Is it because of the by-election? Or do you think that, yes, even the president is feeling the burden of ensuring that the broad-based arrangement remains stable following the death of the former Prime Minister?
Fred, I want to tell you that for the few days, I don't think it's months, that President Ruto has not been on car roofs. Must have been very painful to him, because we are talking about a president who generally he likes being on a car roof, and I think he really felt he really had to pressurize himself to not to go to not to appear on car roofs, and I think he couldn't hold it anymore. That's why yesterday he had to come out, you know, let me tell you something about, because before it escapes, that the President Ruto had, called Gideon in order for them to have a pact, which is good, ideally. But one interesting thing, Fred, that I want to tell you, and I would want Honorable Ote to refute this. You know, every time maybe two or more leaders from Mount Kenya, you know, come together and look for one another. That's tribalism. And that is that is a narrative that President Ruto and his supporters have been perpetuating. So, regarding Gachagua, when he meets Mother Karua, that's tribalism. But when Gideon Moi and Ruto, who are both Kalenjin, now look for one another, they come together, that is national reconciliation, or, you know, building nationhood. So what we are saying is, ideally, from where I see it, I have no problem with the President Ruto looking for Gideon Moi. The only problem I have is where, from our region, when leaders come together, it is branded, tribalism. And that is something that I really have taken issue with. And now I hear that Gideon Moi is going to be given a cabinet slot. And remember, as per our constitution, Fred, we cannot exceed a number of 22 cabinet secretaries. So, of course, there are some casualties that are going to be there, if that is the plan. I mean, to accommodate Gideon, of course, there are people who will lose their seats, and we can only wait and see.
That cabinet reshuffle has really been talked about,
Yes.
quite a lot of rumors. Why do you think it is necessary now for the president to carry out a reshuffle?
The way I see it, and again, we are very sorry that we lost the Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, whom I had a lot of respect for, and I've said that here. I mean, but the demise of the late Prime Minister, of course, will have a lot of impact on the political landscape. And the only strategy that William Ruto had on winning back his seat in 2027, I would say, was Raila Amolo Odinga and his supporters. Now, if you watched the happenings at Nyayo Stadium during, the service that was held there for the late Prime Minister, anybody who was keen, in fact, not keen, anybody who watched, you didn't have to be keen. It was very clear. And again, that's something I challenge Honorable Ote to refute. It was very clear that ODM supporters have not been supporting broad-based government. But they respected Raila Amolo Odinga, and so they were like, just quiet. They did not want to oppose it because it had the support of Raila Amolo Odinga. And that is explained by the way ODM supporters, because most of the people that went to Nyayo Stadium are ODM supporters. The way they received Uhuru Kenyatta, the way they were called towards William Ruto, of course, had to send William Ruto back to the drawing board. And that is why now, he has to reorganize himself. He has to see how he can be able to appease the ODM base. Because, of course, and I had said it many times, that it's only ODM leaders that were in broad-based government, not the holloi polloi of ODM. And it was very there for anybody. Of course, people can deny, but it was there for everybody and anybody to see at Nyayo Stadium. And so William Ruto must now re-engineer himself. He has lost most of his major support bases. He has lost Mount Kenya. He has lost the former Western Province. He has lost almost everywhere. The only place he thought, apart from his native, from his base in Rift Valley, and not the whole Rift Valley, of course, the only place now that he thought he would compensate for the lost support in other grounds was basically, to speak, Luo Nyanza, but say ODM support. And so with it, because he's a keen politician, William Ruto is a smart politician. He, of course, saw what happened at Nyayo Stadium. He also consumes intelligence on a daily basis. So he must now reorganize his government to accommodate as many people from ODM as possible. But before I finish this, Fred, just allow me to tell my friend, Honorable Ote, that he cannot say that Magufuli was appearing on car roofs and the Tanzanians liked him, and so why would the Kenyans complain about President Ruto appearing on car roofs? In case Honorable Lotte has forgotten, Magufuli used to appear in public, yes, many times, and he would solve problems on the spot. We mkuu wa wilaya, mkuu wa mkoa, njoo hapa. Huyu mama analalamika sijui nini. But President Ruto appears on car roofs making promises that he does not keep. And that is a major difference. Okay. So you cannot compare President Ruto's appearances on car roofs with President Magufuli's appearances on car roofs. Okay. And Honorable Lotte has, said something that should not go unchallenged. That, the President Ruto appears because he loves the people. Really? Loves the people? And is not willing to sort out their health care? That today, as we speak, our people cannot be treated in private hospitals on the strength or with the support of SHA? And you tell us this president loves the people? A president who has not sorted out very basic problems with education,
Okay, sir.
capitation, and that kind of thing. Then you tell us, allow me please a second, then you tell us he loves the people. Then Lotte tells you that President Ruto had to call Gideon Moi because he did not want Gideon Moi to be humiliated by the UDA candidate. Hello? I mean, it's the other way around. William Ruto was very, very much afraid that Gideon Moi would win the Baringo senatorial seat on KANU, which then would send a very strong message on President Ruto's lack of support at home. And that is why he called Gideon Moi, and we suspect he promised him very many things. Government business for Standard Group, payment of debts. I just want to believe because I was not there. But actually, it's the other way around. President Ruto feared a Gideon Moi win.
Okay. Even as you respond to some of the issues he has raised, definitely you must agree, Bwana Lotte, that there has, out of necessity, across board, across the political divide, there has to be some re-engineering following the death of Raila Amolo Odinga. Why don't you think that the president is actively doing so?
Well, first of all, I really agree with you that we need re-engineering, and especially with the death of Raila Odinga, because unfortunately, most parties in Africa are individual-based. And the reason why when a party leader leaves, then we see the party not being stable or not being unstable like when the leader was. And so the re-engineering is there, and William Ruto is not blind to that. But allow me to respond to issues, and especially on the fact that William Ruto met with Gideon Moi, and that is not termed as tribal, and that when Martha Karua meets with Rigathi Gachagua, that is termed as tribal. I think that is a very myopic kind of looking at issues and trying only to pick those that are bad and trying to expose that to Kenyans. I want the senator to know that when William Ruto met with Musalia Mudavadi from Western and Wetangula, that was not a Kalenjin meeting a Kalenjin. When he met those of Asan Joa from the coast, that was not a Kalenjin meeting a Kalenjin. When he actually met Raila Odinga and had a discussion, very unstable discussion, according to them, because they did not believe that William Ruto was going to work with Raila Odinga. That was not tribalism. So when he meets Gideon Moi, then they want to bring issues to say that when Martha Karua, nobody, and I'll challenge the senator to give us clips here, or anybody saying that when Martha Karua met with Rigathi Gachagua, that was tribalism. I think that is a creation of the opposition to try to work out the people and their emotions from Mount Kenya to believe that they are being cornered, they are being targeted. Nobody is targeting people from Mount Kenya. The leaders in Mount Kenya are trying to create propaganda. Nobody in this country, the constitution is clear. You are free to interact with anybody, and nobody is supposed to give you any bad name. So when William Ruto was meeting with others that are not Kalenjins, they didn't have anything to say. But because they did not want William Ruto to work with Gideon Moi. And so when they worked, they said, okay, ours was tribalism. They are the ones that created that. So that is the first thing that we want to say. Let us not try to create propaganda, including in a media like this. The other one is, he says that the supporters of ODM do not like William Ruto. ODM is a party, just like DCP or any other party. Party has got a leadership, and the leadership is the one that gives direction. We've actually seen, as recently as yesterday, the ODM brigade, including their Secretary General, who people believe is not willing to work with William Ruto, saying that ODM, as a party, is working with this government until 2027. Where does he speak? Because I didn't hear anybody being given a mic in Nyayo Stadium to declare that ODM does not want to work with William Ruto. But we've heard from their leaders, clips after clips, them saying, including when they were burying Raila, were them saying, this government has supported us and we're going to work with it. So what he's saying again is propaganda. To say that because they clap for Uhuru Kenyatta, not for William Ruto, that does not indicate anything. It doesn't. In any case, if you see somebody driving a dog to a goat's market, that is where everybody wants to go and check. People will be glad.
Qualified as part of the united opposition.
People will be glad to come and see and wonder, who is this driving a dog to a market, a goat's market? So the fact that people clap to you or clap for you does not really indicate that they love you. What will indicate that people love you is when they actually finally work on their ballot. And I'll tell you, the opposition do not need to tell people that William Ruto has lost base from everywhere.
Okay.
It's just they are not the voice of the Kenyans. The Kenyans are the ones that speak. We have actually seen Rigathi Gachagua saying one term and people responding to him 2 term. Have you seen us glorifying that? Because we know that is how it is. It is a 2-term win for William Ruto, because William Ruto is bringing everybody on board, and that is what makes the opposition very unstable.
And even as we continue with that exchange, we need also to examine the other side of the political divide, because they too need some re-engineering, because the former deputy president, the party leader of DCP, once famously said that William Ruto survives solely on the support of Raila Amolo Odinga, meaning that now with the exit of Raila Odinga, a lot has changed, even for the united opposition. There is a scramble for the Western Kenya support, the scramble for the coastal region support, the scramble for Ukambani support, which has on 3 occasions voted for Raila Odinga. How is the united opposition sitting? Because they've also been very silent over the past 2 weeks.
Maybe I can start with that one, Fred. I mean, I don't think in a united opposition that people have been fighting against Raila Amolo Odinga. In fact, I have expressed myself elsewhere and said, we do not understand why ODM is fighting us, because we do not fight. We have never fought ODM. And I'm there. I mean, I'm on record, having said that especially the outfit that I belong to does not have and has never had any problem with Raila Amolo Odinga, and I had said it long before his demise, because we did not vote for him, and because he was not the one running government. And so we couldn't have opposed Raila Amolo Odinga. And so for us, the only person who is affected is the one who was using Raila Amolo Odinga as their life support machine. So for us in the united opposition, I mean, the sad death of the Honorable Prime Minister does not affect, our politics as such, because our target is William Ruto, who is a stumbling block.
Yes.
And
on that mission, don't you see opportunities now emerging that the kind of influence that ODM had, especially in areas like Western Kenya, is now under threat following the exit or the sad death of Raila Odinga, that now they're talking more about Nyanza region. Don't you see opportunities there? Don't you see opportunities at the coast where he received a lot of support? Don't you see a lot of opportunity in Ukambani region, which has voted for Raila Odinga on 3 occasions?
I would really hate to call it an opportunity, because of course if I said that, then of course people will start saying that there are people celebrating the death of Raila Amolo Odinga, and I want to be very categorical and disassociate myself actually with the comments of Mutahi Kahiga last week, because all of us are mortal human beings and nobody is death exempt. It will happen to everybody at one point in time. And so I wouldn't want to call it an opportunity. What I may want to call it is what I may want to say. Basically, Lotte here says that we are the ones to say what Ruto has lost and what he has not lost. Of course, we live in this country. I mean, and so I can tell you that for Western, Ruto had already lost that a long time ago. And there is evidence all over, Fred. You will see the way people like Natembea, who are opposed to Ruto, of course, and his government are received. That is why you will see Boni Khalwale, who is the whip, the majority whip in the Senate, of course, hitting on this government like nobody's business, because he knows people are not with this government. So the only thing that I think, the only places that I think will change is especially Luo Nyanza, because everybody must agree that Raila Amolo Odinga had that grip on Luo Nyanza votes and politics that any other leader may not have in the very near future. It will take time because even Raila Amolo Odinga took time to build it. So what then that means in my thinking is that now everybody can go to Luo Nyanza and campaign and have some hope of maybe convincing a few people, because there is no leader now holding that tight grip. That is the only thing that I see changing. Of course, cost also could change, that now the grip, because again, Raila Amolo Odinga had a very strong, a very firm grip on the votes of Coast Province. So now, without Raila Amolo Odinga, then it means that now Coast Province will be open for everybody. Because there will be nobody holding that kind of, of grip. And so things are going to change. And I have said it elsewhere also, that anybody who also thrived on, attacking and bedeviling and, disparaging Raila Amolo Odinga will also have problems. And so Raila Amolo Odinga's death will have impact not only in his support basis, but also in the basis that did not support him, in that if anybody thrived on railing or nailing him, then they may not have somebody, they may not have a target. But kindly allow me, Fred.
For Western Kenya, before you continue, okay. Western Kenya, for example, the ODM party had more than, had the majority of MPs.
Yes.
Compared to any other party that existed even before the election.
Yes.
Now, do you see that changing? Do you still see them maintaining that? Is that an opportunity for the united opposition? And I'll use it as the word opportunity because of political means. We are looking at a by-election.
Yes.
In this November.
What is there? And give it to Raila Amolo Odinga, Fred. There's even a time, was it 2000 and 2000, I think, 2007? I may not remember very well. Around 2007, when Musalia Mudavadi ran for president. I mean, Raila Amolo Odinga was able to, to garner almost every other vote in Western Kenya, even with Musalia Mudavadi, a son of Western Kenya, on the ballot. Now, without Raila Amolo Odinga, now to come to your question, it will be very hard for ODM to continue having the kind of grip on Western Kenya again that Raila Amolo Odinga actually had. But that depends on many things. Because I believe if, for example, today ODM decided that they are going to front Sifuna, for example, as the presidential candidate, then of course that would change, the fortunes of ODM in Western province. I mean, in Western, in Western Kenya. But as we speak now, without Raila Amolo Odinga, Western Kenya will chart its own path and expect, the other parties other than ODM. Because UDA is dead in Western Kenya. That one I can assure you. It is dead, and dead. Regardless of what Lotte tells you, it is dead in Western Kenya. And so what will happen is that there will, if, for example, Western Kenya comes out with an outfit, a new outfit, or maybe rallies around an outfit like that of DAP Kenya of Eugene Wamalwa, or maybe any other outfit. Of course, I'm telling you, Western Kenya will lock out UDA, Western Kenya will lock out ODM, in my thinking. But having said that, Honorable Lotte is contradicting himself. He's saying that my reading of the events at Nyayo Stadium were not right, because ODM leaders who spoke and who have been speaking have said that they are going to continue supporting the broad-based government. That is exactly what I had said, Honorable Lotte, that ODM leaders have been supporting broad-based government. But the holoi polloi, those are the words I had used. And if you want to know the thinking, and Honorable Lotte here is a politician, he knows, when our people across the board in this country, when they get done with you, and I can tell you this, Fred, it's only because Lotte here, I know once we leave this space, he will tell me you are right. But he cannot say it here because it's convenient for him not to say it. If people are done with you, I'm telling you, Fred, you will go to them, they will even behave like they have not seen you. When they value and love you and still appreciate your leadership, they will not contain themselves. And that is why you saw a very warm reception again of Babu Owino, just the mention of that name. I mean, then that was Bondo, in Bondo, actually. And so, Lotte, you cannot tell us that, you know, that spontaneous reaction of people counts for nothing in politics. I mean, unless you want to, you know, to just engage in self-denial and denial of facts. Now, he says that Sifuna has finally accepted to work with William Ruto. And I also got shocked when I saw him saying that, and I'll ask him today. I believe I'll meet him in the afternoon. I'll ask him, my brother, what changed? But I can tell you, I believe the kind of pressure, yes, that has been exerted on Edwin Sifuna by William Ruto and the ODM brigades that support William Ruto is too much that Sifuna had to read that particular statement. And so, and expect that. There'll be a lot of arm twisting. I mean, pressure, arm twisting, and that kind of thing. So when leaders say that they will support William Ruto in 2027, I had said that. Leaders, yes. But the common ODM supporter holds a very different view. He says nobody is targeting Mount Kenya. And for me, he has actually challenged me to produce clips. Honorable Lotte, I want to remind you, there is an MP from Bungoma County called Dan Wanyama. And he said one time, in the presence of William Ruto himself, that they are uniting to isolate Mount Kenya. And William Ruto, when he stood to speak, because he spoke last, of course, as president, did not castigate, did not condemn the comments by Dan Wanyama. Okay. Adan Duale, a cabinet secretary who has failed miserably, you know, and he's always talking politics instead of sorting out issues that with the Shah and that kind of thing. Every time he's saying there are some people thought they are the only ones, they did not want development to go to other regions other than, and he is a cabinet minister. William Ruto has never ever condemned those comments by his own cabinet secretary, Danduale, and so many other instances. And so we cannot fully...
When Lotte, you'll get an opportunity to react to that. Allow me just to sample some views from our viewers, and I'll give you a chance. On TV47 Kenya, on Facebook, we were asking, do you think Ruto is already playing his 2027 cards or just outsmarting his rivals early? And some of your feedback here. You can see Fred Mukwa says he is desperately strangling himself. Mimi siitwi Josiah ata. Kwa hivyo unaitwa Josiah. He says, which rival? Ruto sahi ata akipotea and resurfaces on the voting day, he will still win. Yator KW says, rivals? Which rivals? Sharon Kananu, that man is a political genius. He's already doing that. Hisa Eric, Ruto is smarter than any of his competitors. If you want to understand Ruto well, enter into a competition with him. Bomas affidavit, our president has not even started campaigning because Shagu and company are already exhausted. Congratulations, Mr. President. And all right, about two more. Kakabena says, Ruto hana rivals. It's early time for them to bow. James Mwangi, whatever you call rivals are just an old, confused lot. And Eugene Elijah, Ruto is very smart, you'll not understand. Okay, fine. And they appear quite one-sided today. What else do you think? Kindly share your comments with us as well. And we may sample them. I can see some more here, yes. Let me just see if at all they're any different from what we've seen so far. Whatever you call rivals, Eugene, Ruto is very smart. Perry Wayegu Kagombe says Ruto is going nowhere. He's just doing guesswork. He doesn't know what to do. He has lost his seat as early as now. Yeah, a differing opinion there. Yes, Bwana Lotte, your chance.
Good. I think statistics speaks to itself. Today you've read what Kenyans have responded.
Some Kenyans.
Some Kenyans have responded. And that is statistics. If you want to know the state of a nation, you do not go to talk to everybody. You talk to the sample. The sample today has told Senator, has told you and many Kenyans listening, that William Ruto is going to win. That is exactly what you've read, not me. Two, that is what Kenyans are saying, not the mood that is trying to tell us he saw in Nyayo Stadium. Because, again, we can have a myopic thinking. We can have a myopic mood reading based on what we want. So probably what he saw
in your stadium is not what I saw. But what Kenyans are saying exactly is what you've read. Two, well, let me respond to this. And on elections, I challenged Senator. I asked him if there's anybody who said that when Martha Karua met with Gachagua, that was tribal. What he has said is different. He's talked about Duale, he has talked about the other member of parliament who said things that are not about meeting of Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua. So he is trying to answer a mathematical question with an English sentence. He has not given me exactly what I asked him. I asked him and I asked him again, tell me anybody who said when Martha Karua met with Rigathi Gachagua that was tribal. He has answered differently. So I think it is important that we do answer as it is. But then again, to look at the mood, just like what Kenyans have said, and I want to tell him, he said William Ruto has lost. We've got 23 by-elections coming. 23 by-elections. My friend, that is when you are going to know what Kenyans are saying. And including in Mbeere North, in Mount Kenya, I'll tell you, on the 27th of this month, we have one senatorial in Baringo already taken. Already taken. We've got 6 more. In Western, where he says that they are comfortable. In Western, in Malava. Let us wait and see. That is what is going to wake up this person, because he said, I was shocked when Musifuna said he's supporting William Ruto. He is going to be shocked on the 27th, when this by-election is going to be taken by the broad-based government, and is going to be even more shocked on the election day on 2027, because he is going to see what he's telling Kenyans is not what it is. William Ruto is a smart politician. William Ruto knows what he does, and William Ruto knows what he will do. So already, we've seen Kenyans talking. Already, we will see that in the by-elections, and already, we're going to see that in the general election. These guys are completely lost. In any case, you've asked them, why are they not responding to the demise of Raila Odinga? You say William Ruto is doing something. Them, they say they are comfortable. Let me tell you, if you are lost, you don't know where to do. You don't know what to do. Them, they are completely lost. They have not even seen that opportunity. And even if they see it, they do not know what to do. And William Ruto on the other side is already working on it. So at the end of it all, we're going to blame William Ruto for being too active when themselves are sleeping.
Thank you. Before we give Senator a final chance, Gideon Mukuna says 2027 will be Ruto versus William, just as we're seeing Samia versus Suluhu on the front page of the Standard. Daniel Vega Karanja says the people of Kenya are not fools. We are eagerly waiting for that big day to act. We voted him in, and we will use the same energy to vote him out. John Down says we will vote. Let's wait and see the outcome. Senator, your final words.
Thank you very much, Fred. And you know, there is an old adage that says, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. And it applies to Honorable Ote more than anybody else. And he's now buoyed by the few comments that you read, and now he's feeling like a winner. And you know, Honorable Ote, I don't know whether you are a teetotaler like me. You know, when you take some alcohol, you feel buoyed and you feel on top of the world. And I believe that I could see the excitement that you received with the few comments that were positive about
that is just statistics. Actually,
but then,
it's just statistics.
But then, because Fred is not a politician, I want to maybe tell Fred that, you know, politics is a dirty game. You could find, if you researched, you could find that maybe those were even people that already had a pre-arrangement with Honorable Ote or government. You could find, I'm not saying that it is the truth, but you could find.
These are our fans who watch
I'm just
Morning Cafe.
You know, could find. I'm not saying that is a position. Okay. But you
please review that because it's not true.
Because you see, because Honorable Ote, you have studied English, and you know, when I say you could find, I'm saying it could be possible. I'm not saying, I'm not accusing the viewers and those who make comments of that, but I'm saying it's a possibility because politics is the art of the possible. But you only need to talk to people out there. He says that Baringo is taken. Of course, they're going to take Baringo because the only person that was going to compete against and who was going to win was Gideon Moi, and of course he was subdued. I don't know what happened, what he was promised. We can only suspect, and of course I agree with him that UDA will take Baringo. He does not want to respond to the issue of people being twisted. And you know, and I want to also say that the viewers who have made those comments, of course, they have said that William Ruto is a smart politician. I had also said that, so that is not in dispute. But, you know, sometimes you could be very smart, Fred, until a particular point in time. Because again, they said a long time ago that you can lie to some people sometimes, but you cannot lie to all the people all the time. Right. And that is where now William Ruto will have a problem, because he has lied to all the people all the time, and people have now known that yes, he is smart in lying, and they have been able to unearth his lies. And in fact, everything that Lotte has promised me is actually everything that he's going to see. And Fred, if you could diarize, when the results of the presidential election start streaming in 2027, and I pray that God is going to keep us safe, Lotte and I and you, please, as people get shocked, call us here, so that as the results stream in,
we'll get shocked
we
together.
will see who will be in shock. Because I can tell you, and I want to ask you, please, if you do that show, please make sure there is an equipped ambulance on standby, because Lotte will need the services of that particular facility.
Please,
because
bring that ambulance for him.
Is what is going to happen to him. And so please, I think just call us, a good ambulance,
definitely will.
Well equipped, because Honorable Lotte, my friend,
and we pray
will
for
need those services, and I will accompany him.
And we pray for the good health of all those people who come to TV47. Asante sana, Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a, and Titus Lotte, MP Kacheliba. I'm told there's one more comment that I need to read here. I hope it's updated. Yes. Mwalimu Kibet says, apparently Matiang'i, Kalonzo, Maraga, Gachagua, and others have been abducted by Ruto, and they're not vying for presidency. That's according to Senator Nyoto. That's what Mwalimu Kibet was saying. I guess that's why I've been told to read that. But anyway, thank you so much, Senator Nyoto and Bwana Titus Lotte, for your time at TV47 this morning. Very interesting conversations here on TV47. Allow me to just go through the headlines today. On the People Daily, Parliament or puppet? It's a question. Inside State House's grip on power. Business Daily, Kenya ships 8 billion shilling gold to Dubai amid smuggling link. We cannot even produce that level of gold in Kenya. Mauti angani na barabarani ni habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Magazeti ya Tanzania yanazungumzia tu uchaguzi wa leo. Ex-governors owe millions in mortgages and loans on the Star. But on these papers that I have, physical copies here, the Daily Nation, Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes is a big one there. And on the Standard, Samia versus Suluhu. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the state of the nation. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.